Okay guys, welcome back. In the last video we've been able to discuss some important concepts in CSS that would most likely be coming across in the course of this CSS tutorial. So now in this video we'll be starting out to using these concepts practically in our codes. But before we move on to that, I would like to show us the ways by which we can link our CSS styles to HTML documents. Okay, so there are three ways that you can link your CSS style to your HTML file. Okay, the first one we've discussed when we spoke about HTML styles. It could also be called inline styling. It can also be called inline styling. Okay, before we proceed, I already created a folder. I named it CSS and I opened up an index.html file in it. So that's all I've done. So now let's get into our index.html file, then declare our doc type. Yeah, and we're here. We'll be naming this, let's name it learning CSS. Okay, so this should reflect here. Okay, good. So as I was saying, I said we have three ways by which you can link your CSS documents or styles to your HTML document. Okay, and the first one is the inline styling. The inline styling is similar to the HTML styles that we spoke about in the last module. Let's have an H4. Let's give this hello world. Okay, so inline stylings are done by declaring a style attribute inside your element tag. That's how you declare an inline style. And this style, in most cases, like I explained in the last video, has the highest specificity. Okay, it holds the most importance in rank according to the browser. So let's give this style attributes. Let's say color is red. Yeah, and that works. So this is one way by which you can style any of your HTML file or element. Okay, you can go on and on by styling here. You can choose to oh sorry, that's not right. This is supposed to be, yes, semicolon. The next thing we want to, okay, let's say font size. Let's give it 3 rem. Okay, that makes it bigger. So whatever styling you want to do could be achieved using this method, but this method is not advisable to be used when you're working with when you're working on a big project or any project at all. You know, you don't see professionals work this way. You only use inline styles when it is completely necessary, which you should try to avoid in most cases. Okay, so the next preferable method by which you can style your HTML document is using the internal CSS style sheet. Okay, and this internal CSS style sheet is done by opening up a style tag in your head element. So let's clear this out so we don't have conflicting styles. You open up a style tag up here, then whatever styling you want to give your HTML document can be referenced here. Okay, it is called internal CSS style sheet. So let's do the same kind of styling that we gave our H4 using the inline styles. Let's use internal CSS styling to do the same type of styling. So let's go. Let's have a color. First, we are going to reference our selector. Remember, we talked about selector in the last video. This is a simple selector. This is the element selector. So I'm referencing the h4 directly using its element name. Okay, so we say h4. Remember I said there's no symbol or sign that you use when you're using element selector. So just h4 and you're good. Now let's have color is red. As you can see, that works. So this is the old CSS syntax. Okay, h4 is the selector, color is the property, red is the value given to the property. Okay, now let's have the font size like we did. 3 like I said yesterday, please do not forget that you separate your property from your value using the colon, and you close the whole declaration up using the semicolon. If you don't do this, you are going to get an error. For example, I clear out this semicolon, my stylings will not work. Okay, so it is very important that you know all these things and follow it up to the T. Okay, now the next inline the next method by which you can link your CSS to your HTML is using the external CSS style sheets, and this is the most preferable in terms of the three that we've talked about. This way you can have um, like a completely different file, a completely different CSS file that you put all of your styles into it, but you can reference it into your HTML document using the link tag. Okay, so please stay with me, don't get lost. Link tag. This is how the link tag is. The link tag is also a self-closing tag. It comes with an attribute of rel that shows that okay, the type of document you are trying to link is a style sheet. Okay, now the href attribute tells us the location of the file that you're trying to reference. So now I won't write my href first. I'm going to create a CSS file first, so we can get the location and what do we call it, reference it the right way. So first thing I'm going to do is just create the CSS style in the same directory with the HTML. Okay, so I'm just going to say style.css. Every CSS file contains or must include an extension of .css. Please do not forget, that is what tells your browser or your system that the type of file you're creating is a CSS file. So now I have created a CSS document. Now let's go back to our index.html and try to reference it directly. So now because my style.css is in the same directory as my index.html, what I'm going to do is just reference it directly. I do not need to use any forward slash in this case. So I'm just going to say style.css, and that's it. This way I've been able to link my style.css. So let's test it out. Let's give the same styling that we did the other time. H4 color is red. Oh, sorry, that's a mistake. Color is red. Then we have font size is 3 So we've been able to link our first style CSS file correctly to our HTML document. Now you can begin to style whatsoever in this file. Okay, and like I explained yesterday as well, I said CSS files cascade. Okay, you can use multiple style sheets if you feel that okay, if you're breaking your style sheet to components will make your code feel better, fine, you can have more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 style sheets controlling this one index.html so far you link them correctly. Okay, okay, Now that we know how we can link our CSS file to our HTML documents, let's start exploring all the properties that we have available to us in CSS. So the first properties we're going to be looking at are the margins, paddings, and borders. Okay, so let's use um the h4 that we've created in our HTML. Now, um, let's start with border. There's Before we proceed to borders, paddings, and margins. In CSS, we also have ways of commenting in our codes. Like I said, words that you do not want to reflect as a code, but should be in form of guidelines to whoever is reading your codes are comments. So here in CSS, the syntax for commenting is a forward slash with a star. Then you close it by doing the direct opposite thing, a star and a forward slash. So whatever that goes in here is going to be a comment. Okay, can you see? So whatever I type here is not going to be reflected as a code, but it's still going to be there. So now let's call this borders. Now the CSS border property allows you to specify the style, the width, and color of an element's border. Okay, so let's use this H4 as a case study. We're going to start with border styles. Okay, there are various types of border styles in CSS. You have border styles. Let's call it solid. So solid border styles give you a solid line in the form of a rectangle across your content. H4 here is our content in this case, and this is the border across it. Let's explore the different types of border styles that we have. We have solid, we have dotted. Yeah, that's dotted. Um, we have dashed. Yeah, dashed. We have dashed. That's dashed. We have double. Okay, double, like some sort of solid, but double in double solid sort of. Okay, we have you can as well just say border style none, so there is no border style at all. There are other border styles that you can always check for. I think there's about 8 or 9 of them. You can always explore them. Okay, so the next, let's just use solid. Okay, the next border property that we want to look at is the width. So let's just say border width. Let's give it 2 pixel. Okay, you can't really see the effects now. Let's give it 5 pixel. So gives it kind of thickens the border. That's what the width does. Okay, we also can change the color of our borders. Say border color, let's give it aqua. Okay, so these are the major border properties that we can look into. We also have the so these are the major border properties that we can look into, but we also have the border radius. This gives, instead of a straight border, it gives rounded edges, and you can control how rounded the edges look by the value that you give the border radius. So here let's give it 10 pixel. Can you see? If you increase it, the more you increase the value, the more rounded it looks. Let's give it 50 pixels, so it gets rounded and rounded. So all of this is just it's too stressful to always do this. Anytime you want to style your border, you do border style, do border width, do border color, do border radius. There's actually a shorthand that works for all of these. So I'm going to clear all of this out and use the okay, let me not clear it out. Let's just comment it out so we can still see it. um I'm just going to put the shorthand here. So you just say border, can't spell, border. In the shorthand, you um you first declare the width. So let's say 5 pixel, right? Then you declare the style, which is solid. Then whatever color you want to give it, let's give it red now. So this way you've combined all of these three lines of codes. Ah, why are you doing that now? So instead of doing all of these three lines of code, you could always use this shorthand. It's shorter and cleaner, so you don't need to always have to write this every time. This is a shorthand code for, let me even put it in front. Let's say shorthand code for border styling. Now let's comment this out so you could, so you won't forget. Yeah, so shorthand code for border styling is what we have below it. Now the next thing we want to look into is padding. Okay, let's comment it out. Now, talking about paddings, we can alter our paddings width. I think that's about what we can control with padding. But the sweet thing about padding is you can control the type of, I mean, the extent of padding width of each side. For example, let's give this um let's say a padding top, and we give it 5 pixel. Oh, I think 5 pixel is not obvious. Okay, so 10 pixel, and you feel like, okay, what the padding I want to give the bottom should be 15 pixel, a lot bigger than. Then you decide that, okay, my padding right should be 5 pixel, though we can't see that because of course the content is not spanning all the way to the end. Then padding left, you say you want it to be 20 pixel. Okay, you have given different values to different sides of that content. But just like we have shortened versions of of the border, we also have shortened version of this. It's a headache for you to start writing all of this every time you need to pad a particular content. So let's have the shorthand. Now the shorthand for padding is, it starts from the top up to the left, that is in clockwise motion. That's how it goes. So from padding top, you have padding right, you have padding bottom, then you have padding left. Okay, so you say padding, um for top we gave it 10 pixel. Okay, right we gave it 5 pixel, bottom we gave it 15 pixel, and left we gave it 20 pixel. This is exactly the same thing that we have up here, but just in a cleaner, faster, and shorter codes. Okay, but in cases whereby the values that you choose to give the sides are the same all through. Let's say you want to have a 15 pixel padding all through the all through the content. You want to have 15 pixel top, 15 pixel right, bottom and left. You do not need to repeat 15 pixel in four places like this. If you just say 15 pixel, okay, it affects all of the sides, the four sides. And in cases whereby the left and right value is different from the top and bottom value, what you do is, let's say you want to have a 15 pixel top and bottom, 10 pixel left and right. What you do is, um the first 15 pixel represents the top and bottom. The second 10 pixel is going to represent the left and right. Okay, you just need to declare it in two ways: the top and bottom, the left and right. So don't get it confused. Don't get confused rather. If you want to give the same value all through the content, use one value. If you want to give the top and bottom the same value but you want it to be different from the left and right, you use two values. The first one represents the top and bottom, the second one represents the left and right. Then if you have different values for all of them, you use um the clockwise motion: top, right, bottom and left. Please do not forget. Now the next thing we want to look at is margin. Okay, then let's comment this out. Margin acts the exact same way with padding, except that margins are spaces outside the border. Paddings are spaces inside the border. Let's give this the same way I told you it works the same way. Margin top, let's give it a 10 pixel. Margin bottom, 15 pixels. Margin left, 30 pixel. And margin right, 10 pixel. Okay, I said margins are spaces outside the border, right? So we have 10 pixel up, 15 pixel bottom, left and right. We can't see the color. There are no colors related to these properties, right? But we can't see it just looking at our web page like this. But if we go into our dev tools now, let me open my dev tools. So, and I inspect around, sorry about that, and I inspect around, sorry, I'm just trying to change. Okay, now let's inspect this. So you come here. So if I inspect around here, as you can see, the orange box is the margin, the padding box is the green box. So like I said, the contents on your all the components on your web page are literally in box forms. That is where the box model comes in. So the padding is always inside the border and the margin is always outside the border. So the because of the values that we've given our margin, that's why these margins are so big. If we reduce it, it will reduce relative to the value that we give it. Okay, so let's go back. Now let's talk about the background property. Now backgrounds. Okay. Okay. Now for backgrounds, for us to literally explain backgrounds properly, let's create a div element. Let's move away from this p. Okay, let's just give it a div. Now in this div, we're just going to give it a class attribute, so we can use that to explain class selectors. Let's give it a box. Okay, now back to our style.css. If we are going to reference that particular div, I could decide to use the element selector. I'll just use div, but I do not want to use that because we've used h4 here. So let's explore another selector. Now let's have dot box. Dot is the sign you use in front of your classes. So now dot box, let's give it a width of 300 pixel. Let's give it a height of let's say 200 pixel. Okay, now we want to discuss backgrounds. Okay, let's get it. Background. The first background property we're going to look at is background color. So let's give this box element a background. Oh, sorry. Background color. Let's say blue. Okay. So because we've given it height and width, this is the 300 pixel, this is the 200 pixel. Okay. Now we'll be able to explore background color. Another background property we can explore is using background image. So now I'm going to comment this out. The next background property we want to look at is background image. Now to reference a background image, you use a URL, then enclose it in a bracket, then inside it you have your quote mark or anything you want to call it. Then try to access your image. Right here I have an image in this file, so I'm just going to access it that way. Say image.png, and that's it. So now as you can see, this image does not look as if it fits in that particular box the right way. That's why we have other background properties that can help us position and make sure that this image fits in correctly. So the next background property we want to look at is background repeat. For example, if I increase this height to 800 pixel. Yes, see, because this particular image you're getting cannot span all through to occupy the height, it begins to repeat. So background repeat can help you sort this kind of issue. So let's say no repeat. That way, no matter the height of your box, your image does not repeat. So let's just put this back at 200 pixels. Now the next background property is attachment. Yes, you have different values. You can say fixed, that means you don't want it to move, it stays fixed into the box. You can have scroll, so it's fixed. And you can have it scroll. Let's just go to fixed. That's how background attachment works. Then position, background position. You can say center, you can say left, you can say right. I don't know why this is okay. You can say center again. You can say top, right. You can literally give it any position depending on what you're trying to, the kind of style you're trying to achieve. So the same thing with the other properties that we've spoken about. Background also has its own shorthand. So let's just comment this out and use the shorthand. So we say background. So instead of saying background color or anything, just say background. Then the first thing is okay. Um, I didn't reference it properly. Image.png. Then no repeats. Attachments should be fixed. Then let's give this center. Yeah, okay. All of that can be written with this short code. Okay, so the next thing we want to talk about in this video is text formatting. For that, we can create a paragraph. Let's have a P, which is the lorem email, lorem 30. Now let's begin to style. Let's give this body, or okay, margin button, so we can see what we are doing. It's beginning to go down the page. Margin button. Let's give the P margin button of 500 pixels. So it comes up. Yeah. Okay. Because we gave this background positioning fixed, that's why it's moving like this. The other elements are going on top of it. If we change this to scroll, it just scrolls with the page. Can you see? Yes, so that's what attachment is called. Let's go back to fix. Okay. So in text formatting, we have some few properties we'll be looking at. The first one is color. You can just give your text color. Where is this thing? Let's say color purple. Okay. Another thing we can do with our text is we can align it. Why does this thing keep coming? Um, Text align. There are different values for this. So I might just get this off. Okay. Okay, so text align, we have um we can align this to the center. So all of the text aligns to the center. You can say left, it goes to the left. You have right, everything shifts to the right. You can as well say justify, so it stretches out the word. Sorry, stretches out the word. Okay, so you can use, that's how you align text. You have other options that you can explore. Let's just leave it at center. Um, we can also do indent. We have text indent. This gives your paragraph some sort of indentation in front. So let's just give it like a 50 pixel indentation. So this moves. Let me just remove. Let me put it at 5 pixels so you see difference. So this moves back here. The moment I give it 50 pixel indentation, it moves to the right. Okay, that's what in text indent does. We have line height. This tells the space between each line. Okay, so let's, if you say line height, let's give it a 1.5 line height. Can you see that the height of the lines has increased? Let's have a 3.5. So you see, yeah, so that's how line heights work. Let's just stop at 1.5. Another one is letter spacing. Let's give it a 10 pixel. Yeah, it's going to be very okay. Yeah, so each letter, the space between each letter is given 10 pixel. That's what letter spacing does. Then let's just leave this at 2 pixel. We have word spacing, just the same styling with letters, but words instead. Let's give words 10 pixels so we can actually see what it does. Can you see that the words have moved away apart from each other in, I think, 10, I'm sure it's 10 pixel apart from each other, but we do not want that, so let's just leave this at 2 pixel as well. We also have text transform. There are a lot of text formatting styles that you can use. So text transform helps you change the style of your um, text. Okay, you can take it from small letters to capital letters, like that. So let's do capitalize. So they all turn to the first letters of each word become capital letter. We have uppercase, everything turns uppercase. You have lowercase, everything turns lowercase. So you have a lot of options to explore. Let's leave it at, I think I like capitalize. Now we have text transform. You can underline. Oh, sorry, not text transform. Text decoration. Sorry. Here you can underline. You can um, overline. You can strike through. Okay, I think it's called line through, not strike. Yeah, line through. You can um, you can as well change the color of this text decoration. Let's do it here. Let's see, text decoration color. Oh, sorry, let's give it pink. Can you see? So if you decide to change this to underline, so there are just different styles available to you. Now we have something called white space. It allows you specify how you want your letters or words rather, how you want it to span. If you want it to span across the whole page, or you want it to wrap when you reach a particular width. So white space, you can have wrap, and this is wrap. Let's have no wrap. So it just keeps going. Okay, that's what no wrap does. We have pre wrap. We have pre line, and just like that. I'm going to keep it at wrap so it doesn't. Yeah, we also have mm, text direction. We also have text shadow. You can specify this, let's say 2 pixel, 2 pixel. We have this ugly looking shadow. And if you want it to come with a blur, you can add a third value. Let's give this 7 pixel, then give it what color? Blue. Yeah. It's going to be ugly, but yeah, let's not actually ugly, it's fine. But yeah, you can do that also. There's just really a lot you can do with your text. um what again? I think I'm missing out something. Yeah, that's that about text formatting, and we're going to move to the next one. So the next thing we'll be talking about is um lists and links. So let's go ahead to create a link, a list rather. We have li. So I'm just going to style use both together. Let's say a, give this one. Mm. Okay, so we've created the HTML for that. Now let's style it. So we're going to target the UL. What you can do with your UL, you can give it margins. Let's say margin, um, 10 pixel everywhere. We can give the border 5 pixel. Oh, sorry, 5 pixels to most solid. Blue. Yeah. Okay. You can decide to change the width and just give it let's say 50%. Okay. Give it background color. blue violet. So you can really do a whole lot with your list. Now let's try to style the links. Now links originally comes with a list style of dotted. Okay, so if you do not want this, the first thing you want to do is remove that default styling. So you say list style tab or list style and say none. So it takes it off. But if you don't want to say none, you have other plans in mind, you can turn this to square. You can turn it to anything you want to turn it to, but for this video we'll be using none. Sorry. Then let's have a background for our list too. Background. Um, background color. Let's give it. What color will be fine? I don't know. Peach. Look at this peach puff. Does not look bad. Oh no, it does. It looks bad. Let's just give it peach. Ah, there's no peach. Coral. Crimson. That's a lot of. Well, that's okay. Can decide to give it a margin as well. Margin of 2 rem everywhere. Okay. Maybe 2 rem is too much for the sides. Let's just give 0.5 rem. Okay, that works. Can pad it as well. Padding. Give padding of 1 rem. So you can style your link like that. I mean your list like that. Now your links. So let's style our links. Let's say color. Let's change the color to white. Okay. Text decoration, you want to remove it. Say none. Yeah, we have that. Then what do we want to do? So we can also explore font family in Google. I mean in here, let's use the default fonts family is Times Roman, Times New Roman here. But we can, let's see, using monospace. Yeah, that's how monospace looks. I think I love this monospace. So let's just use monospace. Then let's say font size. Can increase the font size to 1.5. Okay. Um Now let's try to use one of the studio classes that we talked about, the over. Sorry, it's a single colon over. That means oh sorry, I shouldn't be next in this. Control X. So the over studio class, that means hovering of mouse on top of the link. So on over we want color to change to black. Okay. Then we want font size to go back to 1 rem. Then we want cursor to be pointer. That means whenever you try to move towards the links, the cursor should change to pointer. Oh, sorry, I think. So see, now that's the over in action. The moment I over on top of the link, it changes color and font size. Do you see that? Okay, let me change this to 1.2. Seems like one. Yeah. So now that's what over does, and list. You can do whatever with these properties in your disposition. So in our next class or our next video, we'll talk more about the other properties that are available for you to use.